Urgent Birds fan, look at what just happened. Nobody saw this coming, huh? But first, make sure to subscribe to the channel, because we bring you daily videos with the latest birds news, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss anything Eagles. Popular Eagles draft theory reignited following recently reported top 30 visit. The Eagles will host former Texas A&M star, which gives life to a theory we've seen a time or two. No one was shocked when theories were birthed about the Philadelphia Eagles' need to take an edge rusher early during the 2025 NFL Draft. The Bryce Huff thing didn't work. Josh Sweat left during free agency. Brandon Graham retired, and that left Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt among the top two guys at the position. No one should be worried about Smith and Hunt. They're on their way, but they're young and still finding their way. Besides two solid edge rushers does not a rotation make. Philly added Azeez Ojulari, Joshua Uche, and Patrick Johnson by way of free agency. Still, if you take a poll, most would be happy if they saw Philly take an edge rusher on night one of the draft. That being said, they spoke to one of the more talked about prospects recently. This will make you smile because it's a name you have probably heard before. Eagles to host Nick Scorton on a top 30 pre-draft visit. Per report, you won't have to work hard to find lines drawn that connect the dots representing Philly and former Texas A&M star Nick Scorton. During mock draft season, he's been named as Philly's expected choice by several pundits. Those theories recently grew some legs. The Draft Network's Ryan Fowler reports Philly was among 3 teams expected to host Scorton by way of a top 30 visit. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Philadelphia Eagles, Cleveland Browns will each host Texas A&M edge Nick Scorton for a 30 visit per multiple sources. Ryan Fowler, Ryan Fowler. April 4th, 2025, Scorton has received round 1 grades, but just as many pundits see him as a day 2 prospect. So while hearing his name called at the end of night 1 seems possible, he could be available as late as 64 maybe. Several mock drafts have featured Scorton as the Eagles selection at 32. That will only fuel the idea that his acquisition by the Birds makes sense. Mocks aren't meant to be viewed as guarantees. Neither are top 30 visits, but Philly's interest in Scorton shouldn't be ignored. The Birds take their pre-draft visits seriously and have often added guys they have hosted. Names like Keely Ringo, Jalen Carter, Quinion Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Jalix Hunt, and Cam Jurgens come to mind when we think of evidence of that statement. Scorton stands at 6'3" and tips the scales at 257 pounds. In 2024, he notched 37 tackles, 5 sacks, and a forced fumble en route to 2024. First-team All-Sec honors after earning a second-team All-Big Ten nod in 2023 to punctuate 2 solid seasons with Purdue. Pausing this news just to say that if you want YouTube to keep recommending the latest Eagles Nation news to you, it's very important that you leave a like on this video. Thanks. Now let's get back to the news. Packers trade Pitchland's 10-sack, $51 million Eagles champion. The Philadelphia Eagles are reportedly open to trading players before the NFL Draft. For teams like the Green Bay Packers, there are a few players they could be interested in, depending on how things look over the next few weeks. The Packers have a few needs, mainly on the offensive side. However, they could use another player who can get to the quarterback, and the Eagles have one in the form of Bryce Huff. Huff is said to be available by the Eagles and shouldn't be too expensive in draft capital. He had a down year for the Eagles last season, but had 10 sacks for the New York Jets in 2023. Logan Ulrich of NFL Trade Rumors proposed a deal that would send Huff to the Packers for a 2025 7th-round pick, a deal Green Bay wouldn't take much risk in. While Packers GM Brian Gutekunst has expressed confidence in the players already on the roster stepping up and producing more as pass rushers, this is a potential problem spot for Green Bay. There aren't notable connections to Huff on staff, but he's arguably one of the best sack artists potentially available going into the summer, and he would be a better scheme fit in Packers DC Jeff Hafley's defense, which wants to be attacking and get up the field. Green Bay has some salary flexibility to take on more of Huff's contract than other teams, but Gutekunst likely will drive a harder bargain with draft compensation, Ulrich wrote. It's unlikely that the Packers would find any player comparable to Huff in the 7th round, but he's on a $51 million deal over 3 seasons, so that's something they'll have to consider. 10 returning Eagles who will enter training camp on the hot seat. Here are 10 Eagles with challenging hills to climb when training. Camp begins and the competition for earning roster spots begins. Don't you love it? We're less than 3 weeks from the NFL draft. The buzz from free agency has calmed down. The Philadelphia Eagles have added to their nest. Philly is seemingly the subject of so many stories constantly, but this is the Birds. What else is new? We're here to add to the hullabaloo with theories about the roster. It's never a bad time to do that, right? If nothing changes between now and the coming selection meeting, Philly owns 8 picks and will add even more talent to a stacked roster. That will add depth to early conversations about who will make the roster and who won't. We're beginning this discussion early. Here are 10 Eagles with challenging hills to climb when training camp begins. Bryce Huff, edge A. Bryce Huff. What can we say that hasn't been said 200 times already? He enters year 2 of a 3-year deal he signed in March 2024. His tenure here began as a low-risk, high-reward signing. We're still waiting on the return on investment. The last time we saw him, he was a healthy scratch during Super Bowl 59, Hez now on the trade block. Philly has also added Patrick Johnson, Azeez Ojulari, and Josh Uche through free agency. Make no mistake, Huff isn't assured of anything. Nick Muse, tight end Dallas Goedert's Eagles' future is on shaky ground. His return in 2025 seems unlikely. What might we say about Nick Muse's chances of making the roster if someone as good as Goedert is expendable? Let's say Dallas is traded. We don't think we'd be wrong to state that Grant Calcaterra, Bryant Harrison, Kylan Granson, Cameron Latu, and E.J. Jenkins are all ahead of Muse on the depth chart. Tyrion Davis-Price and Lou Nichols, running backs Kenneth Gainwell is out. A.J. Dillon is in, Saquon Barkley isn't going anywhere, and the Birds like second-year tailback Will Shipley. Avery Williams was added, probably to take over return duties. Tyrion Davis-Price and Lou Nichols will begin another season at the bottom of Philly's depth chart, and if another tailback is added, that may muddy the picture further. Matt Pryor, offensive lineman, a familiar face, has come home. If we're being honest, Matt Pryor is a baller, but Philly has added several bodies for the O-line after losing Mekhi Becton to the L.A. Chargers. If we had to make an Eagles depth chart today, Pryor would be Lane Johnson's backup at right tackle. That could change depending on what Philly does in the 2025 NFL Draft. Kendall Lamb and Kenyon Green were also added during free agency. Trevor Keegan enters year 2. Pryor will have a lot to think about once training camp begins. Tariq Castro-Fields, Perry Nickerson, A.J. Woods Philly's cornerback unit is in Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean's capable hands moving forward. Kelly Ringo is also on the roster and is expected to compete for a starting job come training camp and the preseason. Philly also signed veteran Adoree Jackson during free agency. Darius Slay left by way of free agency. It doesn't take a quick math study to deduce that we've mentioned 4 players already. The Birds have typically kept 6 or 7 cornerbacks on the 53-man roster as of late. 5 current players are listed as corners: Mitchell, Ringo, Jackson, Perry Nickerson, and Eli Ricks. 3 other guys who play the position are listed as DBs Andre. Sam safety, maybe the Eagles will take a safety during the NFL draft, maybe they won't. Some have linked them to former Georgia Bulldogs star Malachi Starks. We doubt they'd take one early, but any addition would further crowd the depth chart and push Andre Sam further down the ladder. Sidney Brown, Reed Blankenship, Lewis Seen, and Tristan McCollum are the top 4 guys at the position. We have often seen Philly keep 5 safeties, with one being a designated special teams player. Sam would be the odd man out if we had to construct a roster today. We'll see what transpires once we reach camp. Patrick Johnson, linebacker following a brief stint with the New York Giants, Patrick Johnson returns to where it all started. He is again a member of the Eagles roster, where he spent the first 4 seasons of his career. He's always shown positive signs. He's a valuable special teams contributor and provides depth as a solid edge rusher, but the Birds have always had better players at the position in front of him. And now, Birds fan, I want to hear from you. What's your opinion on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I don't know if you know this, but your opinion matters a lot for Birds. I'll be back in a moment with more Eagles Nation news. Fly, Eagles, fly!